If you have to think about capacity, you need to use units of measures that in the old American system include cups, quarts, gallons. If you want to think about capacity, think about how much stuff could fit inside something. So if you have a bottle, how much water could you put in? The answer is a capacity amount. If you think about you're building a flower bed and you want to know how much soil can you put inside this, that's capacity. If you think about the room you're in right now and you seal it up and you don't get any more air in, how much air is already in your room? That's capacity. It can be very important if you might die of suffocation. As with most things, we use a different unit of measurement depending on how much we have to measure. For example, if I'm just looking at how much coffee can go into a little cup, I would use a cup as the measurement. If I had a bottle of water that I carry around with me, I would probably use a quart. If I'm talking about several quarts, like how much water would be used if I flush a small toilet, or how much water do I use when I take a shower, or how much water goes in a swimming pool, then I would use gallons. When we're talking about cups, it gets a little bit confusing because all of these things that we put coffee in at Tim Hortons are all called cups. But the actual scientific, mathematic definition of a cup includes the small one is 1 cup. The extra large cup here holds 3 cups. Now, if you're working in a math textbook or an old-fashioned science textbook, they might mention pints. A pint is 2 cups. If you've got a small container of milk that doesn't just hold 1 cup, it's probably a pint. That's the way we got our milk way back in the dark ages when I was a little boy. Now when you go to the store to buy milk, the container you get is usually a liter, and a liter in the old-fashioned system is almost exactly a quart. When you get a big bottle of Coke, that's 2 liters, 2 quarts. And if you put 2 of those big bottles together, you have a gallon. In this picture, there are a lot of things that have a capacity that you would measure in gallons. The fire truck needs to spray water on a fire for half an hour. That's a lot of water. We would measure it in gallons. If you look even at the small car over on the left, it probably holds about 10 gallons of gas. If you look at the man with the backpack, that backpack probably contains about 3 gallons worth of stuff when it's full. One of the big problems with the old system, I call it the American system now, is it was originally the British system, and it's called the Imperial system. And there were no clear rules about what was what. So in actuality, smaller than a cup was something called a fluid ounce. It's got nothing to do with weight. It's a capacity thing. And the Americans and the British didn't agree on how big it was, and then that meant that they didn't agree on how big a cup was, they didn't agree on how big a quart was, they didn't agree on how big a gallon was, and it was different. The nice thing is, if you use the metric system, everything is the same all over the world. So if it happens to come up now, we're going to be using the American system because the British were smart enough to switch over to the metric system for the most part. So in the American cup, there are 8 fluid ounces. If you get 16 fluid ounces, you have an American pint. And if you have 2 pints, you have a quart, and if you have 4 quarts, you have a gallon, and the ounces all go along with that. Again, for the British Imperial system, the numbers are all different, so don't worry about it.